Love when you talk about mindset. Mindset is so big. I will project sometimes, like if when somebody starts talking about, I don't have the money, and then I hear them talk about all this other stuff. If somebody is a little bit stronger than I verbally, and I get intimidated, how to keep that contact, like where I'm in control without
Yeah.
losing the control, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Do you find that kind of loss of control occurs anywhere in particular in your presentation more often than not?
Yes, if I feel that, and I think this is a self thing, if I feel that it's somebody that's highly intelligent,
Right.
I know I don't talk to many people that have a whole lot of money. And half the time after I've gone through my presentation, I find out they're just baloney.
Yeah. Right.
They're
Right.
full of it. Yeah. Just when people sound really smart. And, I've sold insurance before, and I have to really mentally grab myself right there and say, okay, this isn't a comparison. Let me do what I do and try to just talk through it. And it's hard to keep that. It's almost like a self-doubt thing maybe I have going on that
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I mean, I think everybody gets the intimidation factor because you're going to deal with different people from all walks of life. The only thing I can tell you is I contemplate this stuff like you do, just in my personal interactions with salespeople and things like that. As I've moved up income wise, and we've made major purchase decisions, what I've discovered in the buying process is how somebody buys when they're poor or rich is pretty much the same. It's the same human behavior fundamentals and principles. You get their attention, you gather up their interest, you help them make a decision, and you encourage them to take action. It's the same process over and over again. And whether you're poor or rich, you're looking for the same stuff. Somebody who has expertise and authority, and somebody you like. Those are the bedrocks to making any kind of sale. And it's very, very important. Now, whether the person follows through or not, or is actually going to buy or not, is kind of besides the point. You almost have to ignore your initial inhibitions or fear.
Seriously.
You just don't know. The inverse of this is, you hear all these stories about, I had an agent who used to sell RVs, and these people came in, they looked homeless, dressed like they were homeless, but they bought $115,000 RV cash money, right? No debt or anything. Never would have expected it. So likewise, that's kind of an important perspective too. You just don't know who you're dealing with. And some people come off grouchy or superior, or that's just their disposition. But if you work through that, for those people who may have that mentality, they'll kind of respect you to some extent, right? And they'll kind of work with you after that initial resistance. And sometimes they're just jerks and they waste your time too. I don't want to say that doesn't happen. It's going to happen.
It already happened today.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If they weren't going to be a jerk then, they're going to be a jerk later, right? So I'd rather you find out now and save a bunch of time working to find a real prospect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Than going through an hour-long pitch and then it never happens, right? Something, they were stuck on something. The solution to this ultimately is the fundamentals. You got to talk to a lot of people, make a lot of calls, and you're really just sifting and sorting for your man or woman who gets it, who's friendly, who engages with you, right? It's rare that I've ever sold anybody who just was a complete jerk from the beginning. We all have our war stories, like this woman was terrible and then she loved me at the end, right? I have those too. But the vast majority of my sales are people who were right away, open-minded, kind. They weren't necessarily like the nicest people in the world, but they went along with the flow of it. And that's how sales is. We're looking for those people. We got to sort through a bunch of people who maybe aren't there quite yet. And that means we're going to take a little bit of abuse in that process.
Okay, that's good. Just, whether you're rich or poor, there's still that same fundamental into buying. That sums it all up.
Yeah, it's the same stuff. And everybody has a different way of buying and a process, right? So, but my going through this is kind of solidifies, like, don't get like bent out of shape or worried because you're dealing with somebody who perceptively sounds like they don't need it or looks like they're well off. Again, this is more of a face-to-face problem I've seen. Mm-hmm. Like if you drive up on a home, it's very, you can tell these aren't final expense prospects. It's not a trailer or a small house. Like it's a nice house. You start thinking, oh, I don't know about this. This isn't a prospect, but you find out it is. My biggest sale was in a house like that. And there've been plenty of agents who've wrote policies in houses like that on the mom who lives in the basement that, you wouldn't know looking at the house lives there. Right. So yeah. The best thing you do is shut your brain off and just do the presentation best
Shut
that
your
you
brain
can.
off.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
if it was that easy, right?
I know. Yep. That's why I'm here to remind you of that.
Yes, I appreciate it. That's awesome. I did want to just comment on what you said. So when I get a client on the line that, I already have life insurance, I already have $20,000 and we go through, is it, term insurance or is it whole life insurance? It terminates. I've been really studying your stuff.
Good.
I will tell them, what I generally would do with most of my clients, if you have a lump sum of life insurance and if it's whole life, did you want to leave that for the family and then let's just take out a smaller policy just for
Right.
your burial protection? Is that something you would use?
Oh, yeah. Creating a need. In the pre-qualifying stage of the script we teach, what we're trying to do is figure out if the prospect is qualified or not, right? Because when you don't need to waste time with people who don't want to buy or can't buy because they don't have a bank account or they don't have a budget or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
The goal of your life as an agent is to spend as much time with people who want what you're selling, period. We don't know it until we call them and talk to them. But as soon as we figure out they can't buy it, then we want to move on. One of the problems we run into occasionally is sometimes people know they need it, which that's not a problem. That's great. But sometimes people need it, but they don't know they need it. We have to uncover needs. So for example, maybe we have somebody who's convinced that their term policy that cancels at 80 is perfect. They just don't know it's term. We know it is because we kind of fact find and figure out it's low price for a lot of coverage and it's gone up. And we need to educate the client and show them. So we want to be looking for those opportunities. The most common ones are they're not aware there's a 2-year wait. They're not aware that it's a term plan that cancels. They have coverage, but they haven't thought about the impacts of inflation. Maybe they think 10,000 is enough, but we start talking about how everything's going up. They agree. Well, that's how funeral prices are. That's why we're talking, because 10,000 isn't enough anymore. You need more like 15 to 20. So we've created or really uncovered a need. They've already had it. They just weren't aware of it. Or, hey, yeah, you can use that plan as money to your beneficiaries, like you said. And then let's take out a different plan. So that way you give the funeral home a smaller plan and you can make sure that your family gets the biggest plan, because otherwise what happens is your family walks in with the $20,000 plan. And what you risk running into is, oh, I got a lot of money. Let's get the gold casket. Let's get the 5-day celebration of life, to use every penny of this risk. Because what do people do when they're bereaving? They make bad decisions when they're, lost a loved one and they're under emotional duress. So I think these are things that you can throw out there. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But sometimes that's how you get the sale. You uncover the need they were unaware of, and you give them a reason to buy that they weren't aware of previously.
Wonderful. You have answered most of my questions. Yeah, I had them all written down here for you. I was ready.
Perfect.
So I appreciate it.
Was this helpful for you? You like it?
I love it. Absolutely helpful.
Thank you, Wendy.
Absolutely. At this time, I don't have any more questions. Can I ask you about your business?
Please.
A little bit? Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I was wondering, do you have back end customer service to help the agents?
I don't. Go ahead and further define what you mean by that.
Yeah. So like if a policy didn't go through or there needed to be an amendment or something, where I work at, we have a back end.
Right.
There's a customer service, like they'll just text us, send me a message, let me know, or so-and-so called for you. You need to call them back, type of stuff. Do you have that?
We don't do that because the premise of how we operate is that you're running your own business. And so you're responsible, not just for the front end, but the back end. I find that the post-sale support issues are not nearly as a big of issue as sometimes the recruiting organizations make them out to be. Sometimes things are sold and made to be a big deal that really aren't. And to me, in final expense, and I've been doing this since 2011, full time from 11 to 17, you're not going to get a lot of customer service issues. If you do, you're going to get email notifications when lapses occur. You can call those people back. You can text these people. They're going to have your phone number anyway. You want them to call you because you're their agent. That's part of the sales pitch. It should be, I'm your guy, gal. I'm going to help you when you need problems, and not necessarily be panned off to the carrier. People hate that stuff. They love the local agent. I'm your person that's going to help you out approach. So I find now in Medicare, service is much more significant, much more real deal. But with final expense, the reality is there just isn't a lot of service. If you do it all and set it all up front, the biggest service issues you're going to get are just missed payments and beneficiary changes, with missed payments being the biggest one. And you're going to have to call those people back and basically resell it anyway.
Yeah. Okay. And I would love to get into, I've never sold Medicare. I am licensed in health and life. I would love to do that, to do the Advantage, Medicare Advantage that you
Yeah,
talked about. I look at your $500,000 and 5-year thing. I
right.
listened to that whole prospect and it looks like too good to be true kind of deal. So I don't know where I can get on your website and maybe just text you a few more questions about how that would work.
Oh,
Because
sure.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I need to be full time where I'm at right here. So I can't do,
Absolutely.
I can't take away from this to go to that.
So real briefly on that, I'll just kind of for the audience probably is interested a little bit in it. The idea behind the 500,000 annually and 5-year business strategy is to get away from looking at this like a job and more of a business career and thinking over the longer term.
Yeah.
The nice thing about insurance sales that's unique from a lot of other industries is you have the capability to build a business model that can be highly passive in nature and income production. Whether you go for $500,000 in production or a year, or if it's $250,000, the numbers, it's not so much the numbers as it is the strategy in which you get to get there. That's really what we're passionate about and what we really have worked with on the broker side of our business model. And the idea behind it is real simple. You start in final expense. You get good at selling. One thing about final expense is, and a lot of people don't think about this in its totality, but if you get good at final expense, you can sell anything in insurance. Like you're selling one of the toughest demographics that most agents really aren't very good with, lower income seniors. And if you can convince somebody who is a world-class procrastinator to buy where they otherwise would have put this off, you can sell Medicare, which is zero premiums, no underwriting, and you're literally giving people more free stuff. We do Medicare in the second or third year of the agent's career because Medicare pays lower commission. So for example, like you said, Wendy, I wouldn't want you to drop everything to do Medicare right away because final expense is teaching you some fundamentals about sales, but it's also providing the money up front.
Mm-hmm.
Medicare is a lot slower and it takes more time to develop. Typically, it's a 2-year process to get into it completely before that the residual income starts to be high enough where you don't necessarily have to go even sell final expense. It's a multi-year process. The nice thing about Medicare is we're at a point historically where more people are retiring now than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
They all believe and know that they need to have something other than original Medicare, not just the people turning 65, but the people over 65. They all change their Medicare plans. And there's a lot of people under 65 that are disabled that are on Medicare because they've had disability for 2 years. So this pool of population is growing. They need experts who understand healthcare, who understands the different plans out there. It is not something automation is going to take away. And even if you don't write, I think the numbers to get to 500,000 is approximately like 16 or 1,700 clients. Even if you don't do that, even if you're like 200 a year for 5 years, that's about 1,000 clients, 800 to 1,000 if you count some lapses that happen. And that's over 200,000 in income right there in residual lifetime income in just 5 years.
And when you say residual lifetime, pardon me, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sure,
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So the way Medicare Advantage pays at the moment is that, and this is 2023 figures, so if you're watching this in the future, it might be different. If you replace an existing Medicare Advantage plan or you write a plan for the first time, they've never had Medicare Advantage plan before. Residual income after the first year commission is $301 for life. In some states, it's higher, like Pennsylvania, I think California. They have like a cost of living adjustment. But you're making $301 a year each year that the client stays with you, no matter how long they live. They live 20 more years and die. You're going to get 20 years of $301 paid to you as long as they stay a client and you retain them as a client. What's the benefit of that? It's lifetime passive income. Final expense, really, the majority of the income is paid what? Upfront the first year. And then there's a small little residual that really doesn't amount to anything. And you're not going to service your clients to the extent that you're going to talk to every one of your 500 or 1,000 clients every single week. It's not anything like that. You will have servicing requirements. You can hire people to help you on that side of the business so that you don't have to worry about that all the time. But the beauty of it is you get to a point where you don't have to work to find new business to make money because you have a clientele that loves you. They're loyal. As long as you take care of them, they take care of you and stick with you. And it allows you to have a sense of freedom and autonomy, right? Where you can take a month off of work. You can go travel. You can do the things that you want to and not have to always be nose to the grindstone.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at. I'm 55. So
yeah,
I want to be able to, start doing something like that. So I'm just going to keep going forward with my final expense. And then I think maybe another year. What do you say? Like a year or two?
Yeah, I would say so. I would be looking, if I were in your position, it's December 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I would be looking no sooner than the next 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the end of the year. So there's what's called annual election period that starts November 15th,
Oh, yeah, that was a question too. Can you
October
still
the 15th.
sell? Yeah, can you still sell the Medicare Advantage before the
All year long. All
really
year long. We teach agents to do it all year. A lot of the biggest misconception about Medicare is you can only sell it during annual election period.
open
That is not the
enrollment?
case.
It's not. Oh, okay.
We teach you how to uncover sales opportunities year long. So that's why we can write a lot of business. I think our top agent this year wrote 858 plans. I mean, he's really crushing it. He's really working,
I'll be
but
darned.
he did it all year. So likewise, when we think of the application of this, somewhere over the next 6-12 months is the earliest that I would start with you, Wendy, but certainly any further than that is fine. And I wouldn't do Medicare all in. I would kind of start part-time, work it a day or two, because if you take the time away from selling final expense and you do too much taking away from it, you'll notice your money drops because the first year commission on Medicare is lower. So again, most agents who do well in this business, they do like for that first year they're doing Medicare, they do final expense for a couple of days during the week and do Medicare a couple of days during the week.
Mm-hmm.
Then typically over the next year, they transition more fully to a full Medicare strategy.
Right. And did I hear you say, like, I mean, commissions from our final expense with you, that's 100% commission?
Or higher. So we have at the time being right now, experienced agents. Granted, you got to buy your own leads, right? You're responsible for that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
110 to 120% is typically where we put our agents at right now. If you're brand new to the business, it's 100 to 110%, most of the 110.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed issue 60 to 80%, depending on the company that you use. So yeah, I mean, that's always been our strategy, right? We want to work with business owners that want to buy their own leads, understand that. So we give them higher commission because of it. We are starting a new business model too. I haven't really formally announced this yet, but I will in the video. A career-based program where we're going to provide final expense leads for the agents that can't or won't buy leads. Commission's a lot lower, but you can sell in person or face-to-face with the system. So it's a way to get started for those out there who really want to sell, but don't have the money to buy leads.
Right, right. Yeah, because that's what I want to do is be able to, get a bigger commission. Right now I can do like, there's 40, 45. And then if I get my numbers up a little bit higher, I can get into the 60, 65%, which I'm hoping to do for that next month or next year. And then, maybe pop over to you and start rolling it. That's my business plan.
and that's a good one. I think you focusing on final expense, I mean, I'd love to have you. It sounds like you've got a lot of potential, but to me, my thinking is, hey, if it's working, keep doing it. And it sounds like it is. And there will come to time when you've developed and had this experience, you'll know the business intuitively. That's when it's safe to start taking a step out and doing something else like Medicare. You don't want to get into this business and do it all at once because it's way overwhelming, and people who are overwhelmed don't take action, right?
Yeah, no. When you're overwhelmed, that's it. And I'm finally to the spot, where I can actually call you and talk and have a conversation and not be too nervous and feel educated. Hi, young one.
Can you say hi to Wendy?
Oh my goodness, you're beautiful.
This is working at home for you. Do you get distractions like this, Wendy, working at home?
Yeah, well, I do. My husband just came in and gave me some chili, and I have 2 puppies at my feet.
Did I see you go like this?
I'm sorry. I was like, they're all trying to talk to me. I'm like, get out of here.
That's a daily occurrence here at the DeFord household too. I'm glad I'm not alone. So.
No, it's lovely. It's nice to be able to work at home too. And so I would have the availability to still stay at home and work.
Just you can sell. We teach agents to sell over the phone. We teach them to sell in person. We like them to pick their horse and ride it, right? You don't want to do both. It's just a different skill set. And then for Medicare, you can sell over the phone or face-to-face. Now, we recommend for Medicare, you kind of work your local market or 1 or 2 different markets because, final expense, it's the same product in all 50 states for the most part. But with Medicare, it can vary by city. One carrier has a really good product in Chattanooga where I live, but it's terrible up in Knoxville, right?
Right.
So from just a simplification standpoint, it's better to focus on one area, one metro area, and become the best knowledge base for that area available.
Did you hear all that?
No, I don't. Your mic's great. It sounds great, but you can't hear anything beyond your mouth. So
wonderful. So that's good. Yeah. All my dogs are just like, oh, who's outside?
Right. I know. I'm distracted.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, this gives me a lot of hope and something to look forward to. And again, thank you for that. Because I do understand that being overwhelmed, what do I do? When I was on my own, it was like, oh my goodness, with one IMO company, I won't say, that was horrible. The big planes and the cars and all that stuff. And when I saw you, I'm like, oh my God, this guy is down to earth. He's real. You have a family. your daughter's in your lap. That's the best. I mean,
Thank
this
you.
is what it really is about. So, and doing this, letting me learn from you for free, something I could never pay for. So I just applaud you for that. And I
Well,
want to
thank
thank you
you.
again.
I appreciate letting you or letting us release this publicly, because I think that's why I like doing these videos, because
Hmm.
it's not another like flash video and look at all this business. Not that those are bad videos at all. They're motivating, but it's
Hmm.
also good to hear from like real life people,
Hmm.
getting started or
Hmm.
struggling, whatever their situation is, and actually get real world advice. So a lot of
Yeah,
people that they find this content really good and real. And so I appreciate you being willing to come on camera and do it with me.
absolutely. Oh my gosh. I was like, I could do this.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You're funny. So I thought, whatever we do, we'll just laugh.
Hey,
So,
hopefully accomplish that. So,
right, right.
well,
All right.
Wendy, thank you. Appreciate you doing this.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for the opportunity. Truly.
Bye.
All right. Bye bye.